Hi, I'm Andrea.
Hey y'all, this is Courtney, and welcome to the Human Design and Liberation Podcast.
This is a space where we explore how human design and liberation theology intersect with the past, present, and future.
With the intent of sharing the beauty and pain of the human experience to encourage you in your liberation journey.
Yay!
Yay,
We're back.
hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
I feel like this, post eclipse integration is still happening. So
Yes.
just reminding myself, we're recording today. I think we're like 9 days out from the eclipse. So,
Yeah,
we're still feeling the aftershocks.
we are. We're still on it, but yes, it's clearing.
Yes,
And we're
I definitely
almost
feel
in
that.
Taurus season,
Yeah.
which I'm
I'm
very
very
excited
excited for
about.
that. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. Couple days.
Mm-mm-mm.
So
We
good
got some
stuff.
good, yeah, we got some good stuff on deck for today for this episode.
Yeah. It's
Me
going to be
too.
juicy.
Yeah, we were just preparing, and Andrea was totally in her mode. There's like this mode that you get into that's like, I loved it. Like you closed your eyes and you were like, okay, like we're gonna put this shit in order. We're gonna get this right. And I'm like, yeah, like this is when it gets really fun around here. Like we're great. We're good when we flex it, by the seat of our pants, but it gets really, really good when we're like heavy on the notes, heavy on the like
Yeah.
getting our minds right. And this is all about getting our minds right in a lot of
Yes.
ways.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And when so we're talking about outer authority today. And I think for me, when we're talking about um, topics that are very mechanics heavy in human design, um, that is when my second line, so I'm a 6-2 profile, and that is when my second line like kicks into high gear because this is
Mhm.
like a part of my call. And
Mhm.
so my second line feels like really driven to like go the extra mile and like really give 100%, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the mode.
Yes, I love it. So kick us off. Let's define outer authority.
Great. Great place to start. So, outer authority is essentially guidance from someone outside of yourself, like in the most basic terms.
Mhm.
Um, it is something that we are in a little bit of a negotiation with right now,
Mhm.
just as a collective.
Mhm.
And so we'll get into some of the reasons for that negotiation. I think that negotiation is very healthy. And also, it's helpful to have this framework of what is truly outer authority so that we don't throw the baby out with bathwater, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like there
Yeah.
are some real benefits to outer authority. You don't have to recreate the wheel. Like there's so many ways that outer authority can be helpful, but it has been very harmful historically.
Yeah.
So,
We're getting out of social media meme land with outer
yes,
authority, which I think is very
yes,
important because it's very black and white, very like good and bad in
right.
social media meme land, and we're really
Meme
trying to
land.
give meme land, and we're trying to give outer authority its due.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So the history, I mean, I think part of that negotiation, right, is going from the seven centered way into the nine centered way, correct?
Yes, yes. So, in the time before 1781, when we were seven centered, there we've talked about this before. It was really
Hmm.
about surviving and enlightenment. And
Hmm.
most outer authority came from either this is how you survive or this is how you get enlightened, right? That was the
Yeah.
focus. And really, um, people did not have much agency. People did not have sovereignty the way that we think about it today.
Mhm.
And some people did, right? If you happen to be born king or queen. But then in reality, like what agency did they really have? Because they were very confined. I mean, all you have to do is like watch a season of Victoria or a season of The
The
Crown, and you
Crown.
know
Yeah.
that like they're not really making decisions for themselves, right? It is
Yes.
this collective power structure that they are, the head of, you know,
Right.
figuratively. But it's the collective power structure that's making the decisions. And so
Mhm.
um, that is kind of the legacy of seven centered outer authority. And nine centered outer authority is really this wisdom and experience that can be offered in your process that can
Yeah.
be very helpful.
Yes. Yes. And so again, like we're giving outer authority its due. We're showing that it was there was no way out before the seven-centered way. Like,
Right.
it was the only option,
Right.
unless, of course, you found a way to end up on top. It was a hierarchy, so
Right.
only the people at the top of the hierarchy, because there was a hierarchy, um, were allowed to dispense information for the people on the way down, and structures and systems. So we're
Yeah.
thinking about now, like, um, when we talk about even the age of enlightenment is kind of like around that time we're thinking of um the we're in the midst of the transatlantic slave trade. So intense human trafficking happening, colonization, um, the forceful implementation of one way of being, one philosophy, one ideology onto the other
Right.
places
Right.
against their will, um, and moving out of that in this evolutionary way, like each of
Yeah.
us individually moving out of that because the wheel is moving, we are evolving as a species, and we currently are living um, in a time where we're getting close to the end of that way of being, still the hierarchy still in existence, being in existence.
Right. 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 And what I love about what you just brought up is recognizing it gives some context to the way of being that allowed mass atrocities like the transatlantic slave trade to happen.
Yes.
Right. And I don't believe that there's just like a flip that switched in 1781. Like, I believe that there was some preparation. And we see that
Right.
with some of the thought leaders that came before that, speaking out against
Oh yeah.
slavery and so many of the ways that Western society was being set up. I say that because it wasn't just in the US, right? Like, there
Yes.
were thought leaders and revolutionaries in Western Europe who
Mhm.
eradicated the transatlantic slave trade and eradicated enslavement before we were able to get our heads around the atrocities here,
100%.
right? Um,
100%.
and so this evolution of outer authority, it creates um, it creates a paradox, right? It creates a
Mhm.
disturbance in the power structure because um, and so you see dissonance, you see discomfort with these concepts at all levels, not just at the
Yes.
top where they're losing power, but you see discomfort in the lower levels as well, because
Yes.
this structure has provided, quote unquote, I'm using air quotes for those listening, stability. But was it
Yes.
really stability, right? It wasn't really, because they had no sovereignty. And so it was very actually unstable because their future could be changed on a dime. by the whims
Right.
of whoever was making that decision, right? And so that could
100%.
be like landowners for tenant farmers. That could be, we're not just talking about enslavement, we're also talking about all the ways that this structure was, all the scaffolding that held it in place.
Oh, yeah. Totally. I mean, that makes me think of, the fact that a lot of the African rulership was involved in the trading of human beings for various other, um, like, products and, you know, things that held wealth and
Yeah,
value at the time. And I'm not making a comment on bad or good, whatever, but I am making a comment about the fact that there was a hierarchy in place in many of these, communities and tribes, and there were hierarchies in place within the European colonial structure. And these
absolutely.
hierarchical people, these people on top are making decisions for everyone on the bottom. That's
Right,
what we're referring to. This
right.
is what our authority is. And so again, it's not, we're not joining this conversation on like slavery bad or who started it or
No,
whatever. Like that
we
is
know it's
not
horrible.
like it's horrible. That's
Yeah,
settled. It's not
yeah,
even,
yeah. And
but I am saying that, yeah.
it wasn't only in Africa, right?
Oh,
Like
right. Of
the
course.
same
Yes.
thing was happening in the Nordic countries, it was happening in Western Europe. Like
Hmm.
there were obviously mass scale and the like unending uh agreement piece of the transatlantic slave trade that took it to an extreme.
Yes.
And right, it blew up in a seriously horrific way. But it was horrific before that as well. Like
Yeah.
parents could sell their children into slavery. And that
Yeah.
happened all the time in like, the what we now know of as the UK. Like
Yeah.
there's anyway,
The
it's horrible.
Pentateuch,
The whole thing.
things in Asia, like this, it was everywhere. But
Yeah.
I mean, this is our like tangible example of what happens
Yes.
inside hierarchy, inside a reality where the outer authority holds absolute power.
Yes.
And
Yes.
this is what
Exactly.
we have moved out of in an energetic level.
Yes.
Um, so absolutely.
Yeah. So outer authority today is totally different, right? Outer authority today, we were kind of brainstorming on like exactly what it is.
Hmm.
It is a piece of our expression. So just to use like our designs, I
Hmm.
am a six line with a defined head and a defined ajna. You are
Hmm.
also a six line with a defined ajna. And
Yes.
so those are two aspects of outer authority. And I'm going to get into like more of the nitty gritty of where
Hmm.
outer authority comes from. Um, and so when we look at what is outer authority, we both have outer authority. And so
Yes.
that looks like just a piece of our expression, right? That looks like offering wisdom, giving context, providing information, sharing our experience, being able to support someone who is exploring an aspect of their life or trying to make a decision,
Mm.
being able to offer support in the form of outer authority.
Yes.
Not making a decision for somebody. Outer authority is no
Right.
longer making a decision for somebody. It is now just offering all of those other gifts so that the person has what they need in order for their inner
Right.
authority to make a decision.
Right. Right. It really just is evidence of our capacity to affect one another. And in this case, it's affecting each other's decision making processes. Like, and that's
Yes.
like from the from the, throat up, that's kind
Yes.
of how, that part um of our design
Yeah.
um connect to the people around it.
Yeah. So when we think about um, what does healthy outer authority look like today versus what we know outer authority looked like in the past, outer
Mhm.
authority is unattached to any outcome. Out
Mm.
authority is based on the lived experience of the person who is sharing it. Outer authority honors the person's uniqueness and their strategy and authority. It is just coming in as a voice of like, hey, like wise counsel is a way to think of it.
Yeah. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of I think of like even like a parent-child um relationship. Not that it is that, but I think of that. I think of like anybody who has toddlers know that you can't make a toddler do anything.
No.
But you can suggest things like this idea of redirection, right? Like,
Yes.
um, redirection is like one of those positive parenting kind of 101 type scenarios where you're not telling a kid to stop or don't. You're saying, how about this option over here?
Yes.
And it illuminates a decision. It illuminates a
Yes.
decision maybe that they weren't considering. That's what's possible with
Yeah.
outer authority is like the capacity to in relationship, which I also think is an important part of it, in
Yes.
relationship with another person or a group of people, it is illuminating an option that their design may not have seen otherwise.
Yes. And parenting is such a great example because you can see the evolution of parenting as we're learning to release the seven centered outer authority concept of the parent knows everything. The parent makes all the final
Ooh,
calls,
yes.
right? To the positive parenting or empowered parenting, or there's so many different terms for it, of actually this child knows what's best for it. This
Mm,
child knows what's best for it. And so, how can we support? How can we give counsel? How can we show options? How can we share what's going to happen if this goes that way or you make that choice? Then
mhm.
these are the things that are going to happen as a result, right? That is healthy outer authority. You're ultimately letting that
Yeah.
child make its decision. And often, depending on the child's design, those decisions are going to be learning experiences, right? Like if you have a third line or a
Yes.
sixth line child, they are going to need to make mistakes a lot to figure out what they're doing, right? Um and so I think that's a powerful way to think about this shift in outer authority.
Yeah, and, the parent what we do bring to the table is experience, right? That's the one thing
Exactly.
that we have, that the child does not, and so
Exactly.
but again, it's not a hierarchy because they're here to live their life. They're here to fulfill
Exactly.
their role, and so when you're standing at a crosswalk, we have enough experience to know that it's good to look both ways.
Yes.
And, that child gets to benefit from our experience,
Yes.
um, knowing that, but that's not about controlling a child's movement. It's about
Right.
helping them understand through our experience. And this is kind of the point of human design anyway. Anybody who and I love this not just for the parents, but I love this for anybody who's on their human design journey who is a teacher, who is a mentor or is looking to be a mentor, who works with young people in any way, and you're on your journey. This is another reason why you're learning your
Yes.
design, learning about the mechanics of human design. Yes, it's for you to better understand yourself, but it is also to use your outer authority in a way that supports this a child into understanding their own inner authority. You're
Yeah.
supporting their their relationship with their inner authority, helping them learn to love themselves, helping them learn to trust their inner being. And so this is just in a really, I love that we arrived here. This feels very kismet that we arrived here because this really is the point of understanding anything related to human design. It's not just about you. It's about the generations that are going to be following us.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ross said that all the time. Like,
Mhm.
I'm doing this for the children. I'm not doing this for all of you. I'm doing this for the children. And all
Yeah.
of you are going to make sure that the children get the benefit of this, but um it's really for the children, which
Mm.
I really love.
Love it.
Yeah. So, some other things that
Hmm.
really matter to outer authority. One is the importance of cultivating that relationship and being able to hear your inner authority.
Yes.
Um, we were talking right before we came on about this polarity between the outer and the inner authority. And the outer authority really cannot be healthy. We talked about what those qualities look like if the inner authority isn't strong. And the main
Yes.
reason for that is because if the inner authority isn't strong, then the like neural pathway that we all have from this history of seven centered outer authority
Mm.
to give up your power, to give up your sovereignty, to ask people to make decisions for you. And that might be literal or it might be energetically, right?
Hmm.
Um, is going to happen. It's going to happen if
Yes.
your inner authority isn't strong. So, what does that look like? It might look like, looking to your parents for approval all of the time,
Mm.
or it might look like, then displacing that need for parental approval to your partner, right? It's
Yes.
any time you're looking for someone else to make a decision for you or to
Yes.
make a decision that is going to impact you, then you know that you're not following your own inner authority. You're looking for an outer authority, and you're not looking for a healthy outer authority. You're looking for a not self outer authority.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. That resonates. And I also want to add that it's not the same as, and we're going to highlight this more and more and say it over and over. It's not the same as asking for advice. It's not the same
No,
as asking for access to someone's,
experience.
experience,
Yeah,
expertise, all these things. But it
totally.
is literally the resignation of the final say.
Yes, yes, yes. And I would say if the final say is not coming from your emotional authority, your sacral authority, your
Hmm.
splenic authority, your self projected authority, your mental authority, right? Your lunar authority, whatever your authority is, if
Hmm.
the final say is not coming from there, then you're going to be bumping up against your not self.
Right. Yeah. So, and
And that's
yeah.
where, like, so much of, at least in the clients that I work with, there's so much confusion, right? Around
Mm.
how to make empowered decisions, around how to navigate this power differential, right? And they're, in their process, they're learning what their authority sounds like. And we still just have to have some embodiment of that following your inner authority, which is
Yes.
then innately going to bump you up against any ways that you were not following it in the past. And
Yes.
you get this opportunity to kind of like relive, to reweave your own agency and renegotiate what that means with your relationships and, how
Yes.
you interact with people. Um, there's so much potential there for healing and for deeper communion when this old paradigm of seven centered outer authority gets disrupted and you are coming with that strong inner authority.
Yes. Yes. That's so beautiful. And it really just illuminates the fact that, like, we are all on this journey. I want to even go back and harken back to the fact that we are in the last stages of the cross of planning. And, for anybody who wants to go back and listen to our 2027 episode, because it really does connect. We're really living in a time where our systems are still reflecting this seven
Yes.
centered way. The cross of planning and the movement from the seven centered way into the nine centered way kind of overlap a bit. And so, um, what we're seeing as, like, literally wokeness, which is funny.
Yeah.
We were actually explaining to my daughter last night what woke meant, because there
Oh,
is Yeah, right. So there's a Republican runoff happening in North Carolina right now. And so the political ads, Lord have
Oh
mercy, are
God.
still on TV. And I'm not even going to comment on those. I could go on and
Yeah.
on. But saying woke Democrats, woke liberals is just is the buzzword du jour
Right.
in these
De jour.
ugh, in these commercials. And so my daughter, is a 3-5 profile. Manny Jen is like, what does woke even mean? Like, what does this mean? And I'm like, okay, how do I explain this in this context, right? And so
Right.
we're saying, I'm like, well, woke means being aware of reality, being aware of the systems and the way that the world is structured, and
Hmm.
understanding that you can do something about it. It hasn't always been this way. It's something that you can change. And so the reason why these people on TV don't like it is because they like the way things are. And if people know about how things are and realize that it doesn't have to be this way and it wasn't always this way and things won't fall apart when they go away, but it'll actually be better, that means the world won't be like how they want it anymore. And
Right.
so this is why they are suggesting that woke equals bad and whatever they think equals good, and they don't want to be associated with wokeness. And I'm like, and even, anytime you explain something to a kid, it kind of like illuminates it for yourself. And so I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what this is. We're moving out of um this sense of like these systems, this seven-centered way, this hierarchy, this um kind of ever-present outer authority that we are all beholden to,
Mm.
is not the way it's always been. It's not the way
Hmm.
it has to be, and that there's
Yeah.
something better waiting for us
Mm.
as we move away from this. And so, yeah, like all that to say, we're all in this process. And we're going to be in this process, I think, for a long time, even after 2027, like, because
Yeah.
there's going to be the resistance on the
Oh
other
yeah.
side of the energetic shift. And
Hmm.
so right now, we're resisting the cross of planning. And then there's going to come a time where we might be accepting of this cross of sleeping phoenix, but we're still living in an environment where this new way is being resisted. So we're going to have to navigate
Hmm.
that as well. And so it's not like you're not behind, or you're not like low frequency or low vibrational
Right.
or anything like that, if this is still a struggle, because it's going to be a struggle. Liberation is a struggle. And that is what we're going through right now, liberating ourselves from the hierarchy of outer authority and reclaiming our own decision making power through right relationship with our inner authority.
Right. Right. And growth in general is challenging, right? Like
Yeah.
you need the resources to be able to grow.
Yeah.
And often those resources come and go, right? And so just if we think about liberation as growth, right? We need access to our agency in order to be able to grow in
Yes.
that way.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. So within human design, traditional outer authority is anyone with a fifth or a sixth line, um, defined crowns and ajnas. And then it's often stated as projectors, but it's really about projected channels, which
Mm.
is it's a layer into, you know, human design that's a little bit deeper than we talk about on the day to day. So I will say many people have projected channels. And I think this
Yeah.
just brings up the whole dynamic around um, often experience and wisdom needs an invitation before the other
Mm.
person can receive it. And so you can see how this sounds very familiar to a projector's
Yes.
strategy. And that's actually where that comes from. So the designation of the channel types, whether they are generated, manifested, or projected, actually came before type. Type came much
Oh.
later. Yeah. So projected channels are channels for wisdom. And so um, I like to kind of break it down that way versus saying, um, a specific type, because I do believe that anyone
Mhm.
with a projected channel has some wisdom to share, and it does
Yes.
need to be invited in. It's not for everyone. It is for the
Yes.
people that it is for. And so I like to bring that in because often people will hear, oh, like sixth and fifth lines or divine crown and ajna. Well, I am a 1-3 and I, have an undefined crown and ajna. And I have a lot that I want to share. And
Mm.
obviously, as a third line, like third lines have a lot of lived experience. Um,
Oprah,
yes,
Beyonce, these are
yes,
third lines, so, like, just
yes.
putting that into context there, yeah.
Yeah, and they both have projected channels. So,
Yes.
um, it's just helpful to kind of like give those examples so that people don't fall into some of these, um, let's say, social media meme land ideas about what type of outer authority they have or whether or not they have
Right.
outer authority.
Because
Most
again, we're
people,
yeah.
most people have a projected channel. Like
Yes.
I don't know the percentage, but I can tell you I've looked at thousands of charts and it's probably less than 10% that don't have a projected channel.
Yeah, and I think, again, we're coming back to the hierarchy is dying. So we're
Right.
not going to say, oh, this, particular group of people, this particular type, oh, they're the teachers.
Yes.
Oh, the
Yes.
manifestors, oh, they're the only ones who can start something.
Right.
Uh, the generators, they're the only ones who love the work. That's when the hierarchy starts creeping back in to
Totally.
human design. And so I love that you highlighted that because it's like, no, we all have something. We have wisdom to share, and we all
Yes.
need to wait for an invitation to share it. We all love to work on something. We all are here to bring something to fruition. And so, and honestly, the people who don't want to.
Right.
You know what I mean? And should not feel like they have to.
Right. 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 And I think what's amazing is recognizing, okay, this is like the types help explain the mechanics of the energy, but and also, for example, we all are experiencing different things through the transits, right? Like we all might
Right.
might get like a manifestor channel during certain times of year. Um
Yeah.
the other thing that's really interesting is like diving a little deeper on the lines. Like most people are going to have a six line somewhere. Like it might not be in their
Yes.
profile, but maybe it's in their Mercury, maybe it's in the way that they communicate. Or maybe it's in their
Exactly.
Venus, maybe it's in the way that they approach relationships, right? So I think that's the benefit of like sitting down with a professional and really getting to know your chart more deeply. Um,
Exactly.
but hopefully, this gives people more permission to own what wisdom they do have and then recognize it may not be for everyone. But if somebody
Right.
invites me to share it, then it can be helpful.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Giving you your voice back and giving your agency on when you use that voice. Um, Definitely the goals.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Yay.
Did we talk about a healthy outer authority?
We did.
Okay, good.
We talked about it at the beginning, but I'm happy to like I think it's worth circling back to as we kind of close out. So just
Mhm.
remembering that healthy outer authority is unattached to the outcomes. It
Yes.
is based in a lived experience. It is honoring the person's differentiation. It's honoring the person's uniqueness, and
Mhm.
really pointing them towards their own strategy and authority.
Awesome. Absolutely. Um, and kind of piggybacking on what Andrea said about working with professionals and getting the opportunity to work with folks who have been on their human design journey, and not just on their own, but also studying for the sake of sharing this information with others. I highly, highly encourage you to join our Patreon. It is free. I also encourage you, and that's the HD Liberation community, patreon.com/HD Liberation. And then also join our IG, follow us on IG.
Yeah.
Of course, like, comment, subscribe. We are here to share this wisdom with anybody who wants to invite us in. And if you're looking for to learn more about your own chart, you're a parent or you work with children and you're looking to be able to support your family, community better, any of those things, we want to be there for you. We want to support you
Yes.
any way that we can. So please join our Patreon community. We have a lot of exciting things that we're working on.
Yeah.
And we'd love for you to be the first to know.
Yay. Yes. We're so
Yes,
excited.
we are. Thank you so much, Andrea. Again. Thank you so much for tuning into HD and Liberation Podcast. We hope you've gained valuable insights into human design and its role in building a life of peace, success, satisfaction, and wonder. If you've enjoyed this episode, please show your support by liking, following, and sharing our podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Your engagement helps us reach more people who can benefit from this wisdom. For exclusive content and to join our thriving community, consider becoming a Patreon member. Your support allows us to continue exploring the depths of human design and its potential for life and community transformation. Stay tuned for more fun, thoughtful, and impacting discussions. Together, we're unlocking the path to a more liberated and authentic life. Thank you for being part of HD and Liberation Podcast.